Okay, yeah, yeah, Adi. So where is that from, this name?
From Bosnia.
Oh, wow, okay. So you're originally Bosnian.
Yes.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. So thank you for, booking this call. I'm happy to speak about what it is you had in mind. I remember you did ask a few questions on Instagram. Uh,
Hmm.
but as always, it's better to have this conversation rather than text. Um,
Yes, definitely.
but yeah, go ahead. How's it going?
I mean, things are going well, man. What more can I ask for? I mean, look at all this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess, in the moment, like right now, I don't even have any questions that are appearing, but I got attracted to your YouTube channel because I've recently started delving back into Islam. I started reading the Quran in January,
Mm,
and I've been a student of Zen Buddhism for the last 10 years. So
mhm.
I've been practicing Zen Buddhism and meditation for a long time. I've always been interested in philosophy and religion, but the last religion to explore is the religion that I was born into. Right, my family's Muslim from Bosnia, so I've tried to read the Quran before, but it just wasn't, I don't know, the soil wasn't ready or something. And then in this January, I just like haven't been able to put it down. I've just been blowing through it. And so I wanted to see the connection, you know, the Quran had to non-duality. And so of course I type it into YouTube and here's Hassan talking about it. And so yeah, that's how I found you. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how all this started. So here I am.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, I can say I had somewhat of a similar journey. Um, even though I've been taught quite a lot about Islam growing up, I was brought up in a religious household. It took me to have to look outside of Islam for me
Hmm.
to really see what Islam is about and what it's actually presenting to humanity. So
Hmm.
it's nice. It's nice to see that you've done the full circle as well.
Yes, yeah. I feel like it's almost impossible to get it on the first try. Like how can you, without any other perspective? Uh, I don't know. I feel like you have to look at it from different angles to see it. It's almost like I don't know. It's like looking at a jewel or something, and then you look at it from different sides, and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, I see what this is all pointing to in some way. Um, but yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. I mean, for me initially, I wasn't raised in a very religious home. The only person that was actually a practicing Muslim in my family was my grandmother on my dad's side, and she was like the most beautiful and also like sane and generous person in my family. She practiced, she prayed every day, and you could really see like the fruits of the practice in her spirit. Like she was just like a very pure, just beautiful person. And everybody else was like Muslim by association culturally. So I never was raised religious per se. Um, and then once I started school and started to kind of like explore philosophy on my own, I went through a phase where I was an atheist, a self-described atheist, where I was like, well, this is all bullshit. Like if these people are saying this and this culture is saying this, and they all think that they're right, like it just seems like it's all just fairy tale. And so I went about um, thinking that way for a long time, and then I stumbled onto Alan Watts,
Mm.
and he's the one that got me into all this mess with non-duality and meditation. And then I was like, oh, they're not all wrong, they're all right. I see. Okay. Okay. um so yeah, started going on meditation retreats, silent meditation retreats, doing a lot of sitting practice. And it's been uh it's been good for my life. It's been good for my relationships. It's been good for my health. I feel a lot stronger now than I ever have before. And yet there's this like something is not all the way there. There's still this like seeking energy. And then when I hear somebody speaking, like I watched one of your videos where you described kind of an experience, a personal experience that you had, where sort of like a flood of thoughts came vomiting up out of you, and then there was like a peace after that. And so there's this weird tension that I experience between wanting something like that to happen, right? Like some kind of release, release from the self. But then also on the other hand, there's like this fear of losing myself, like this big fear of losing myself, especially now that I have children and a wife. Like it's like the tension, I can't reconcile the tension, because it's like, man, do I want to keep going down this rabbit hole? Like, is this potentially dangerous for Adi, for this thing that I've built up over time? Is it how destructive is it going to be to tear this down if that's what I'm doing? And so that's kind of, I think, where I am now in my journey or in my walk, is trying to dance kind of with that tension and figure out, the most graceful way to move forward. Because at the end of the day, like, my priority now has become, my family and my children. Like, that's just like number one for me, is no question. And if that means I have to live as an ego and suffer for the rest of my life, fine, that's no problem. I don't want anything to happen to them. But yet there's the seeking energy is like equally strong. I'm going on another silent retreat next Friday, actually, with my younger brother, which I'm very excited about. But every time I go, there's also this fear of like, man, what am I going to open up here? Like, am I going to open up some kind of door that I can't close? Does that kind of resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. I see where you're coming from. So you're going to these silent retreats. Are you hoping to sort of reconcile with that seeking energy? Are you hoping to put a stop to that?
I don't know what the hell I'm hoping for, man. I don't know what I'm expecting. I heard you say something in one of your videos that just made me laugh. I was just laughing my ass off. You said like something like, what do you want? Like, do you want it to be like more colorful or something? Is the tree not green enough? Like, what the hell is it? And it just made me laugh, because I laugh at myself. It's like life is here. Here it is. Like, is it not gorgeous enough already? And it's like the energy has changed. I'm not suffering so much anymore. It's not so much like I have to escape from my suffering. It's not like that. It's more turned into this like, okay, so what's the truth? Like, what am I? What does it mean to be at one with God? What does it mean to be at one with the universe? Is that, if that's already the case, then it seems silly to search for anything, because here it is. It feels like this. What does it feel like to be at one with God? Well, it feels like talking on an iPhone on a Zoom call with Hassan. This is what it feels like. And so I guess what I'm hoping for in the retreat is something that I suspect I'm approaching, but I have no idea what it is, or even if I'm just bullshitting myself, but it seems like there's some kind of movement or something that I'm approaching. And so I'm just moving towards that. And I don't know what that is.
You see, the nature of seeking in itself implies that something's missing now.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to question, what is it that is really missing right now?
Yeah.
Right? Because you've already established that what you're seeking, you don't know what you're seeking. You don't know what it is that you're looking for. And then that comes some fear as well, right? So what is it that you are seeking? What is it that is missing, that is sort of motivating you and propelling you into seeking? So what comes up when I ask you that?
Yeah. So what came up when you asked me that was, I feel like there's a feeling of almost like, if there's something about reality that I'm not seeing right now as it is, then it feels like a travesty or something, or it feels like a wasted opportunity if I don't find that thing. Like, it feels like if I'm deceiving myself about the nature of reality or the nature of my mind or the nature of my relationship to the universe, it feels kind of like I've squandered an opportunity that I have now. And so there's this feeling of like, okay, well, do you like maybe you don't understand what's going on here. Maybe we need to look a little deeper. Maybe we need to investigate a little bit more. So there's this sense of if I was perceiving the truth right now, there wouldn't be this seeking energy. And because there is, it feels like you said, like it feels like, I don't know, like now as I'm describing it, it feels like so silly. It feels like, but and yet it's there. If I'm being honest, it's there.
Yeah. So there's some sort of fear of missing out. You're on this planet. There's existence, and if you go, which implies that there will be an end, you might have missed something that you shouldn't have
Yeah,
missed.
yeah, that's yes, yes, that feels true. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine dying and having never tasted chocolate,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it wouldn't really matter.
right?
It wouldn't really matter. I mean, chocolate is great, but there's so many other things to taste.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you say then that which you are afraid of missing is something experiential?
I don't think so because I'm aware that I can't experience everything. I'm not going to experience everything. I've tasted chocolate, but I haven't tasted, I don't know, some exotic, maybe some exotic fruit from Thailand or something like that I'm never going to taste, and I'll die never tasting it and never knowing it. So it's not so much it doesn't feel like it's a pull to experience every possible experience. It feels more like it's a pull to just, I guess, now we're getting a layer deeper. There's definitely some kind of discomfort or something that's driving the whole thing. There's some kind of fear that's driving it, and there's also a curiosity. So I don't know what the curiosity is about, but there's also like you know, there's definitely like an apprehension or like a tightness or something that feels like is there, that's driving the quest.
Mm.
It's very vague. It's very vague. Is it fear of death? Is it like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna not exist, am I doing this, am I am I living correctly, like yeah.
So we've established then it's not an experience because you can't experience everything. The nature
Hmm.
of experience is that it's fleeting. There's a start and an end, and it's forever changing. So we've established it's not an experience that you feel like is missing, right? So then we kind of want to take a step back and look at the very initial thought or the opinion that there is something that is missing.
Yes.
And what is that born from? Where is this
What is
thought coming from?
that something is missing? Where's that coming from? I don't know. That's the truth. Is it even there? Am I just saying that? Am I just saying that because I've inundated my mind with all of this like spiritual, bullshit?
Yeah, let's not speculate. Let's actually look at this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where's it coming from? The feeling of lack. There's a belief that I suppose that there's a belief, or there's a sense that this life, or this stream of consciousness, can be guided or manipulated, and it can be done in a way that is right and in a way that is not right, or in a way that is good and a way that is not so good. And so there's a questioning, there's like a self-doubt of like, am I really in alignment or something? Are we getting a little bit closer to it? Where is it coming from? Feeling of lack.
So there's a belief. There's a belief that's making you feel like you might not be doing things correctly. You might be doing things incorrectly.
Misperceiving, maybe?
Right. So let's look at this belief then. When did you start recognizing that this belief was there?
You know, it's it's hard to say. When you asked that question, I thought about how I was like really interested in dinosaurs when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And how I was just insanely curious about, what the hell is even going on here? Like, wait, what? Like, there used to be giant lizards living on the planet and there were no humans for millions of years. Like, what is this?
So are you worried that you might die not knowing what the truth is about dinosaurs?
Well, the dinosaurs are like a part of the whole drama, that seems so distant from the drama that's happening here, and yet it is connected. So there's this it's not about the dinosaurs, it's about like the grandiosity of the mystery. It's like, what the fuck is it? Like, what is going on here? Like, there's there's an element of that there, of like just the size and scope of the whole thing, and I think me feeling like this very tiny little inside of that, and not really feeling like a part of it, if I'm being honest. I understand intellectually that I am a part of it, but I don't really feel that way.
Okay, so let's look at this belief then. So the belief. Okay, so when I asked you about when you recognized that there is this belief that there is something that you're supposed to be doing right or wrong, and you need to be in alignment, and I asked you, when did you initially recognize that that belief existed? And then it reminded you of the dinosaurs situation.
Mm-hmm.
How is the curiosity or the belief that surrounds, let's say, dinosaurs, that you perhaps need to know about dinosaurs, how is that sort of belief or curiosity, how is that different or similar to the belief that something's missing right now that needs to be solved?
Okay, let me try to connect those two. I think that there's a belief that there is a possibility of feeling connected to the whole thing in space and time. And I believe that that is possible. But that's not a part of my experience. That's not a part of my reality. And so there's this struggle to find a way to feel connected to all of that. Because I feel like if that could be experienced, then the fear would dissipate, because I would understand that I'm somehow bound to all of it, and there's not really anything at its roots to worry about.
Yeah. So would you say that is an experience?
Maybe it's more like an understanding. I don't know if that's an experience. Is an understanding an experience? Like when something clicks and you understand something, is that an experience? Well, yes, in a way, but it's not an experience like a sense, like a taste or a visual experience.
Hmm. You see, when there is a particular focus on something, like a goal that you are inclining towards, everything else kind of starts to blur out. And that can make you feel disconnected.
Mm,
So perhaps the very seeking and wanting and desiring makes you feel this disconnect.
that's the ball.
But we're trying to see that, right? We're trying to really see this. So if all of a sudden you didn't desire this, there wasn't this longing anymore, and there is just no more desire. All there is just now. What would happen? Would you feel like you're doing something wrong?
No, that sounds like it would be wonderful.
Mm.
Like if there was if I had the feeling right now, and obviously now I'm speculating and I'm going into thought about it, but if I suspect or I think that if I had the feeling right now, like it wouldn't matter at all whether I went on this retreat next week or not, like, doesn't matter either way. I feel like that would be very liberating. But I don't feel that way. I feel like it's really good for me to go on this retreat. you know, I feel like maybe something will happen if I go, something that will be good.
You feel like you need
Something.
it.
What's that?
You feel like you need it.
I definitely do. I don't feel. I will say this. This is the other thing that fucks me up, is that I don't feel that I need it as much as I did 10 years ago. And I feel 10 years ago, I really felt like I needed it. Like I would be like, I gotta go on these retreats. I need a breakthrough. I need something to change. Like I need to get my life in order. Blah blah blah. Then 5 years later, a little bit more drive, but not that frantic energy. Just kind of like, okay, this is good for me. Now it's not so strong, and so because of that progression of like feeling like I need it less and less, and I feel like I'm moving towards something. Like I feel like I'm moving towards not needing it, even though I'm still going. So there's this feeling of like progression or like spiritual advancement, right? Like I feel like I'm less spiritually thirsty as time goes on, and I feel more at peace moment to moment with my situation, with my family, with my relationships. So there's a feeling of progression. But I would be lying if I said that I don't feel like it's good for me to go on this retreat next week. Like I feel like I should go, and that it wouldn't be the same to me whether I went or didn't go. There's definitely still like, okay, maybe it'll happen if you go.
Yeah. Okay. So we're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
And we're also afraid, we're also simultaneously afraid of it happening, because we don't know what that means. We don't know if something bad is going to happen, if we're going to go crazy, if we're going to, like mess up a good thing that we've constructed, so there's also this like, but there's an energy pushing and an energy pulling, and they're exact same force. So I'm just like, feel like I'm just stuck right in the middle.
Right. So how much control do you feel like you have?
In general.
Yeah, like so there's this fear of losing what you have constructed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's wonderful, but how much control is there over what takes place or what happens?
Man, that's a good question. maybe this is a fantasy, and maybe I have no control. Maybe it's just zero control, and this is just the way things are right now. But it it seems to me like when I align myself with principles that I find in wisdom traditions, or when I practice meditation, or when I pray, or when I do the things, the spiritual things, right? It seems like things flow a little more smoothly. It seems like life harmonizes a little bit more, and it seems like I'm more present for my children, and and they seem more happy, and things seem to be. So is that me controlling it? I don't know. I don't know if that's me controlling it.
What if I told you that these spiritual things that you do, right? They are, let's say, an invitation of being less of this me, right? Whether it's prayer or meditation or fasting or whatever spiritual practices you take part in, even in this silent retreat, right? Even perhaps in this conversation. What if all these sort of practices and spiritual things, what if they are an invitation towards stillness, right?
Mm.
When you are meditating, you know, there's all these different methods, but I'm assuming that there's the observation, you observe the thoughts, you observe what arises, what comes up, right?
Mm.
And in that observation, because there is the recognition that all these thoughts that are coming up are observed, there is somewhat the recognition that there is less of an identification with it. Okay.
Yes.
So because when we're speaking about control, right, we're going in the direction of the me.
Mm-hmm.
But when we pull away from the direction of the me, there's also the recognition that there actually is no control, right? But at the same time, you feel more present. You feel like you are able to be involved with that which, you know, you've constructed, right? Which falls under the premise of your control. You feel more at peace. You feel more present with your children, with whatever has been constructed, even though there is less me. So technically, there's less control,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So let's go and investigate the sense of lack, right? And the sense of control. Let's go and investigate that. We've established it's rooted in some sort of belief system that we need to be doing things right or wrong. Because if we do things wrong, then that which has been built up and constructed is perhaps going to fall apart, right? So there's that fear maybe. But then how much control is there even in that which we have constructed? And I'm asking these questions just so that we can observe and really take a look at this. So there's the belief, okay? And then let's look at the nature of this belief. How is this belief different to any other belief? Right? How is this belief that you need to be doing things right? Otherwise, this and this will be affected in a negative way. How is a belief like that? How is that different to your opinion of wanting to eat chocolate, let's say, or taste some of the better things in life? You desiring these other better things.
How's that belief different?
Yeah.
Can you ask that question again in a different way?
Yeah. So how is the belief that something is missing
Mm-hmm.
and that you need to do things correctly in order to maintain and keep what you have constructed under control? How is a belief like this any different to your opinion about what the weather is like today?
Yeah, it's not different at all. It doesn't feel like it's different at all. It just feels like a mental formation, like a cloud, and this is a different shaped cloud.
Right. So in that case, why are we not waking up in the morning worrying about the weather as intensely as we are worried about not fulfilling this belief?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess there's something, there must be something different about the flavor of that cloud or the shape or something, or maybe it's like a thunder cloud or something, so it looks more ominous. But but I see what you're pointing at, that it is just their nature is the same, and here I am, over here seeing that they're both just beliefs.
Yeah. So let me give you a scenario, right? So let's suppose that you've got this phone on you and you've got like this orange, right? Got these two objects in front of you, right? Now, in this moment, if you had these both in your hand, which one would you recognize as more valuable?
I would say that they're equally valuable. You mean valuable in what way?
So which one is more important to you?
They're equally important.
They're equally important. Okay. So what if you were lost in an uncharted territory, let's say in a jungle, right? And you're trying to find your way back. Which one would be more important?
The orange.
The orange for what reason?
For the body.
Right?
The body needs it.
In the same way, if you are on the verge of starving to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
That orange would be more important than the phone.
Yes.
Okay. But let's say there's an emergency and you really need to reach someone very quickly in this moment. And you're not hungry.
Yeah, the phone is more important.
So depending on the circumstances, different objects will carry a different weight,
Yes.
different level of importance, right?
Yes.
So, however, we can also have a projection on the circumstances. Okay, we can have a projection and influence the circumstances, which naturally allows certain thoughts, beliefs to be more weighty and more important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so this is what we'd like to just pay attention to and see. Fundamentally, we recognize that these two things are no different. They're just two objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as circumstances changes, the importance and perhaps the intensity of the belief towards these objects will also change accordingly. So then the question is, if we've recognized that fundamentally there's no difference in these things, then perhaps we can also understand how we are projecting towards having certain thoughts and beliefs carry a different level of importance. So
I understand.
So the belief that something's missing, right, is more important than the weather right now, than the weather right now. It's because of a perhaps some projected circumstance or something like that. But fundamentally, it's all the same. And so what are you interested in? Are you interested in a fleeting circumstance, right, that can change, right? Or are you interested in what the situation is or how it is, regardless of the circumstance? Which one carries a higher level of conviction? Which one is more true?
Yeah, what's more true is wanting to know the truth, wanting to know, to see to see the truth that the orange and the phone are the same, or to see the truth that the belief, in something lacking and needing to control my circumstances for things to flow better, and the belief about the weather are exactly the same. That's the truth.
Yeah. Therefore,
That's the truth.
yeah. Therefore, we can rest in that.
Mm-hmm.
Just the love of truth, let's just say. We rest in that, and when we settle in that and recognize that actually thoughts and beliefs are influencing are influencing the truth in a way of explaining this. Right. And here's what will likely happen as well, is that the moment you try to recognize this and look at different situations or different thoughts and beliefs through this, let's say, neutral lens, let's just say, or the truthful lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Many thoughts and emotions will come and interject to try and justify why something is more important than the other thing.
Yes.
Right? But we're interested in truth. We're not interested in fleeting thoughts and opinions and beliefs.
Yes.
For the reason that they are fleeting. Right?
Even if the thought comes in, yeah, but but are like, oh, but what about, it's like, it's just more oranges and phones.
Yeah. 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 So really, resting in this sense of being, regardless of the opinion or the thought or the belief system,
Mm-hmm.
all you're really doing is you are accepting. There's a natural sense of acceptance and okayness with whatever comes up in life. Now, it doesn't mean that you are agreeing or disagreeing, right? Because immediately, as soon as you bring agreement and disagreement, good and bad, there's this, imbalance of what's more important and what's less important, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, untruth. So as you rest in being, that imbalance sort of neutralizes. It doesn't warp or distort your perception in a way. And so therefore all there is just truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then are these beliefs and thoughts and stuff like that. But it's clear that these are these thoughts. And it's okay for them to be there. We're not trying to kill them or get rid of them either,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? There's this natural sense of okayness, and it's just okay, man. Like through and through.
It is okay.
Right. And then further later on, some new thought or belief system will come up as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that belief that something's missing was recognized at a certain point in time, maybe shortly or some time after, the dinosaurs thought. So yeah, and this is the nature of the mind. It likes to constantly come up with different problems.
Yeah.
It's determined for survival.
One of my teachers says the brain secretes thoughts in the same way that your pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. Like, it's just what it does. It's an organ, and this is what it does. And so there's no need to give that more significance than your liver. You're secreting liver bile.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly that. And some people within spirituality, they have the idea of having to try and stop thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you stop thoughts, you'll have brain diabetes, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a good thing either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all it is a through and through deep acceptance and okayness in whatever happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was with some friends and we were driving back home, and then maybe like 10 or 12 cars in front of us there was a crash. And so there was like a whole scene and ambulance and lights and stuff, and it kind of, made a whole traffic row of cars, and we were sat there maybe for 2 hours just waiting for the traffic to clear up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a situation like this, different people have different reactions and responses. So
Yes.
some people will be annoyed the whole way through. Other people will be frustrated. Other people will feel an intensity of wanting to do something, right? But there's nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the car. If you really wanted to leave, you just leave your car behind and walk off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what you want to do either. So there's just a natural sense of okayness. And that okayness comes from the recognition that there's no control over the situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If there is any sense of control or feeling that I can be under control, a lot of frustration is born because it's not in alignment with reality. The reality
Yes.
don't have any control over the situation. So would you now rather be in this situation annoyed and frustrated, or would you just be okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. There, on the top, on that, just on that topic of control, it still feels like that, if I, let's say, spend 20 minutes in the morning, meditating before my kids wake up, you know, it seems like there is an I that is choosing to do that practice, and that's sort of, it is so, I feel like an egomaniac saying this, but I'll say it to you. But it seems like when I do that, the universe falls in accord with what I want. Like not with what I want like directly, but it seems like things are a little bit smoother. Like seems like things harmonize or something. And so that feels like a type of control. It feels like I'm sort of controlling things. I mean, is that just like total illusion? And if it is, then what's with all the prescriptions and all the religions? Muslims pray. We're gonna pray 5 times a day. And like I used to think that was so silly when I was young, but now I'm like, I get it. I'm like, I understand why people do that. So what are your thoughts on that?
So what if when you sit down in meditation, it feels like you're under control afterwards, because what you've really done is you've given up trying to be in control and you've just aligned yourself with how it is.
How it is? Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's not that the universe has revolved around you, right? It's just a recognition that you are a happening within the infinite number of happenings in the universe, let's say. And it's working just fine.
Without my help.
Yeah.
It doesn't need my help.
Yeah.
Uh, oh man. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's good. Wow, how lucky are we, like this experience, this thing. It's like what is it? What even is it?
Yeah, yet we still tried to make a fuss out of it.
I think it's just boredom. it's like it's like, well, let me see what kind of trouble I can get into just to make things
Mm.
a little more spicy or something.
Yeah.
So silly.
Yeah.
So I have to get back to work in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Can we play with this like question of fear before I go? This fear of like you mentioned it too in your video when you were describing your experience where you went away, you left your parents' house and you had a lot of time to spend on your own, and then something happened where you had sort of like a thought thought hurricane or
Mm.
something that happened, and for a few moments you thought like, oh, this is not good, like my family's going to be so disappointed,
Mm.
just like intense fear. Is there any threat there? Is there any, I think back to my children, and sometimes I wonder if it's better for me to take my foot off the gas with all this spiritual stuff until they get a little bit older, or do you think that that's just me creating a problem where there isn't one?
Well, all problems arise because of an intense subscription or identification with objects, and that
Mm,
includes thoughts,
mhm,
and that's it, right? So experiencing this hurricane is because I believe that I was my thoughts. Um, so actually, it's as a matter of fact, all you're really doing is recognizing the relationships between, or just recognizing thoughts for what they are. And in fact, that just brings about clarity. So there's actually nothing to be afraid of here.
mm,
What may happen is certain traumas, certain memories, or a series of thoughts may bubble up and come to the surface. But these two are just thoughts, right?
mhm,
And they are also recognized. So there's nothing really to be afraid of. And even when there is that intense fear, the fear is trying to protect you. But you see, the mind isn't able to distinguish between physical danger and imaginative danger.
mhm,
So we recognize that this is all in here. It's a movement of thoughts and memories. And so we appreciate the presence of the fear because it's trying to protect us, but it's not required
mhm, mhm.
because there is no physical danger.
Yes.
And yeah, you won't go crazy if that's what you want to know. A good measure that you haven't lost it is if you're still wondering if you've gone crazy, then you're definitely not.
So if I do, it won't even matter. I won't care.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
And actually, and what's funny is isn't it crazy? Aren't you crazy if you don't observe your thoughts?
Hmm.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Because whatever appears, you go along with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're. I don't want to say that there's any directions. It's not. It's a directionless path. It's the pathless path. All of this, but you're heading in the right direction. Yeah. So yeah, it's not really a direction. There's no direction, but it's yeah. I understand why a thought like this would come up.
Yes. Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you, Adi.
God bless the internet. This
Yeah,
would have been impossible 30 years ago, to find other people in your, surrounding area, to find one other person that understands what the hell you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So it's wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're always welcome, and thank you as well for taking a look into this.